Hello, everyone. You're watching Testcontainers Live. My name is Lecture Live, and I'm super excited to present our guest, which is a very special person and a very special topic for today. So it's my pleasure to present to you Manu, Manu de la Peña, Manu of the Rock. Manu, how are you doing?
Doing great, doing great. Thank you, Oleg, for inviting me to this session. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to talk about Testcontainers Go for the community.
Yes, today's session will be all about Golang, about integration tests in Go, about test containers for Go, the library, the community, where is it used, what are the example projects. My experience with Go is pretty limited, so Manu, I hope that you are ready for a barrage of sort of silly questions. I know they say that there is no such thing as silly questions, but I will present the sort of the beginner's point of view here. If you have any questions in the chat, please post them in. We will try to moderate. We want to make this as interactive as possible. So hello to everyone watching. Before we start, let me introduce Manu, because I know it's very hard to speak about yourself in a positive manner. It takes a special kind of person to create great bios and whatnot. Manu here. Yeah, Manu is working on the open source team for AtomicJar, and his main interest and the responsibility is maintaining test containers for Go. And before that, Manu was working on the engineering productivity team at Elastic, working on observability. And even before that, you were a QA tech lead.
Yes.
That's a very interesting chapter of your career. Manu holds a computer science degree from the Spanish Online Public University, and a master's degree in research and software engineering and systems. Well done. Well done. Right. This is a very short, kind of sort of condensed information. How, like, if we have those formalities out of the box, who is Manu? What are you? What are you doing?
I'm a human being. That's the first thing. Yes, I'm Manu. I work for AtomicJar. I live in Spain. I've been always living here in Toledo, small city near Madrid. I've been working for AtomicJar for 4 months, and well, as Oleg said, I work for the open source team. I've been working in open source since 2011 in different companies, in a big product, Java product, which is Liferay Portal, and also in Elastic, doing engineering productivity for the observability team, working with bits, APM agents, etc. And also doing some open source contribution to Jenkins from time to time, small POCs on my spare time, just CLI tools to scrap things from the internet, improve my productivity. That's why we will talk about later about it, but that's how I was introduced into Go, for example, doing these kind of productivity tools.
Right. So your experience was Java, and then you transitioned into Go.
Yes.
I love to hear that story. It makes me believe that I am not a lost cause, and I might learn from folks. We have a few guests. Ricardo, hello. It's very nice to see you. Ricardo is, I think, was a colleague of yours at Elastic.
Yes, actually, he helped me in my previous call. I submitted a call for paper to a conference, and he was helping me out. So thank you, Ricardo.
Very, very good. Thank you, Ricardo. And we also have Kevin. So hi, Kevin, who's a current colleague of yours, and one of the maintainers of Testcontainers Java. So since we're talking about Testcontainers, how did you so you told how you got into Go with those productivity CLI tools. How did you get into Testcontainers? What was it, something that you held dear from your QA times, or out of necessity, or because it was cool?
I was curious about testing tools in general from my past career, and in working in Liferay, I discovered Testcontainers Java in my team we were evaluating new tools or tools that could create a positive impact in the development life cycle of the product. And I remember evaluating test containers for the Java portal. Finally, it wasn't there. I think it's not yet there, but we were experimenting with it, and that's why it was at the same time or very close to 2016, probably 2017. Docker was still a thing. Was a thing already. Sorry. And well, since that time, we were experimenting with build tools, trying to package the product in Docker. Sorry, and at the moment we started packaging the product Liferay portal as a Docker image, we saw the need of doing testing, consuming those images, and well, that's why I discovered test containers for Java in that sense.
Okay. And how did that transform into interest to test containers Go?
Well, at that time, we had a specific need, and this connects to Go and also for the productivity. We had a lot of designers in Liferay that needed to compile the Java portal with Ant, install Java, install a lot of build tools, and they are designers. They don't need that. So I had a shell script that started the Docker image, and because I needed to test it, why not learning that new cool language that was there to simplify these CLI tools, which was Go. And that's how I got introduced into Go, trying to build an application or a tool for the designers in Liferay to start the snapshots of what they were working on in a single command, not needing anything as a build tool like Ant, Java, etc., just Docker. And with that, they increased their productivity, probably removing 30 minutes a day, building the product, starting it. And well, it was super fun to help them in that sense. And I started enjoying creating small tools for productivity.
So it was, if I understand correctly, it was less of a testing use case, but more of a local development environment setup use case.
Exactly.
Which is incidentally a very, very interesting application of test containers, at least in the Java community, where frameworks kind of take upon themselves to do that. Okay. So, and then it all grew into Test Containers Go. Could you maybe introduce Test Containers Go? Show us a little bit of repository, the necessary docs. How would somebody who knows, imagine that I know I'm a Go developer, a Golang developer, a typical coder, and then I would like to learn more. What are the entry points? Where do I look? What are the important things?
Well, here we have the main GitHub repository. Come here, start it, and just explore it. We have this repository, but all the docs live in the website, which is golang.testcontainers.org, which is here. And here we can see that there are multiple flavors of the library: Java, Go, .NET, Python, Node.js, and Rust. And this specific section of the website, of the public website, is for Go. Here you can find how to start with Go test, because Test Containers Go embeds or works very, very smoothly with Go test. You don't have to have another test runner. It directly runs under Go test. And well, with that, you are ready to go. Here you have an introduction how to install it, all the features that it has, for example, creating networks for your container, how to create a container, how the garbage collector works. In this case, we have the Reaper concept, as you already know, coming from Java, which is Ryuk, removing all the resources that we create. So I joined the project 3 years ago, and started actively contributing to it 3 years ago, but it was created 2 years before that. And what I have learned in this time is that this project has been evolving, trying to follow the steps that the Java library is done. So more or less, the concepts are still the same. So if you're transitioning from Test Containers Java to Test Containers Go, the abstraction are kind of there. There are some idioms that are specific to Go, but other than that, you will be very comfortable transitioning from one language to the other using the library. We can go more in detail if there are so many other questions. But basically, this website, golang.testcontainers.org, contains all the information, contains different examples that we will go through them later on in this conversation, and well, basically how to contribute, which is also important in an open source project. Having a community that is healthy, and this is part of our role as an open source maintainer, creating this environment for the community to contribute. I can see your role as an advocate very similar, or part kind of similar that we do, specifically for a small community, which not for the entire products of the company. But yeah, we have to interact with the community and let them know that it's possible to contribute and improve the docs for the contributions to be smoothly, improve the examples, create tools for them to contribute even better. So yes, it's an exciting job.
Yes,
a lot
it is.
of hats.
I wouldn't even call it a small community, like 1,500, 1,700 stars on GitHub, 200 forks. Even if some of them are just people playing around or fixing and never contributing things back, I think this is quite a power.
Yes,
that is, I don't like a few hundred people who are actively using to the point where they want to contribute. And I'm sure the usage numbers are much higher. Can you what's like, so yeah, I see the examples there, right? And those are the technologies that are running. Do you have a favorite one? What's your favorite example? If you would have 5 minutes with me and you need to show one thing about Testcontainers Go, what would you show me? Like,
well, just to be fair, examples is a concept that we are adopting more and more, and we're introducing very recently. One of the images or services that are more used are databases. So Postgres is one database that is more used. But you have to say what is, for the existing ones, what is the one that I like the most? I will say Toxiproxy, because it's an interesting project from, I think it's Shopify, that allows you to create chaos in your networks to reduce the latency, the bandwidth of your services, and you create integration tests where the connectivity between the services are reduced. It was contributed by a team member, Edu. So I would like to say thanks to him because of that. But this example is super great. It creates a Toxiproxy service, a Redis instance, and a test that checks that the traffic goes to the Toxiproxy with the conditions that you define it for the Toxiproxy, all the rules to affect the traffic.
Nice. Yes, Toxiproxy is so fantastic for creating those complex topologies and introducing those chaos engineering practices into your test suite.
Yes.
Wonderful. So the next question for me would be, can you, since they're like it's an active project, right? And obviously there are users, and Go is sort of a de facto language of the cloud technologies. So I assume that there will be like a ton of examples of projects using Testcontainers Go for their tasks. Do you have any examples of the cool projects where they are actually using Testcontainers Go like in the wild? And maybe you can comment on any particular cool things that they're doing, or just like show some code to get us a feel like, what will I be writing if I would need an integration test with Testcontainers for Go?
Yeah, sure. Remember that I come from Elastic, from the observability team. And when you work in observability, you have to deal with a lot of services. You have to read metrics from there, read logs from there, You have to scrape information from some metrics provider, etc. Or you have to export information to one specific storage. That's why you have to create tools or agents to extract or send information there. I'm really proud of these two examples that I chose. For example, in Opentelemetry, which is becoming the de facto standard for sending metrics, traces, and logs. And this repository, Opentelemetry-contrib, contains anything that is not a core part of the core of the libraries. Here you can see that there are different receiver, processor, exporter, etc. And here, well, basically there are different service types. Aerospike, Apache. We have databases, caches, message queues like Kafka, RabbitMQ, etc. We have a lot of services with a diversity of missions. And well, they have to integrate with that. Sorry, the door, and I'm alone at home, but
it's okay. Live. It's okay. So let me just repeat that back to you to check that I understood that correctly, right? Yeah. So OpenTelemetry collector is the collector for the OpenTelemetry, right? And then there are some core integrations that are maintained by the maintainers team, right? But there is also a collection of sort of the ecosystem, a community contributed integrations with various technologies that would integrate with OpenTelemetry. For example, if like I would like to send my metrics to AWS Firehose, right? I would use the AWS Firehose receiver, and it will work with my OpenTelemetry collector. And this project requires, obviously, since those are integrations with real services, it requires good integration tests. Oh, this is a perfect example.
Yes. And for example, going through a search using the search API from GitHub, you can see that Testcontainers Go is used very extensively in OpenTelemetry collector. And you can see that my databases like MySQL, and web service like Nginx, Postgres database, you can collect metrics or receive metrics, from a JMX Java application, a lot of them. So I can go through the Postgres here.
Yes, let's look at the Postgres. I know that in the Java and the Java ecosystem for test containers, I think Postgres container is one of the most used modules, most used libraries. So let's see how Go code looks when you test against the Postgres.
Yes. Here, well, in Go, you are able to run the test with different tags or build tags like this one. So you are able to select which test do you want to run. It's a really important, coming from a testing story, it's important to separate concerns, running unit tests, integration tests, etc. And this is something that Testcontainers helps you out, because we usually think that unit test is for just the low part of the code, lower layers of the code with no integrations. Integration tests are for testing with real services. Well, with Testcontainers, in Testcontainers Go, for example, you can run your integration test as fast or similar fast as your unit test, because you are dealing with your dependencies with real instances of them. Here, they decided to create, or the OpenTelemetry team decided to create two different subset of tests, unit tests and integration tests. And I'm pretty sure that I have run them, and really, they are really fast. Even though they are considered integration, you can run them in a really fast manner, because in this case, Testcontainers is used. Here, for example, you will see that when what is this? Here, a container. With these simple lines of code, they are defining a container. They are building from a Docker file, and exposing a port and creating a wait condition. At the moment the container is started, the code will wait until this condition is satisfied. In this case, is waiting for this port to be ready. And for this Docker file is, well, creating all the things that they need for Postgres. I know that this is a common practice if also in the Java space, which is creating a wrapper on top of test containers with all the standard things that a library wants to provide. In this case, this get container is creating here a unified way of creating the containers. And we have these container requests. What is this here? I'm looking for the Docker file. Sorry, there's an integration Docker file. So this Docker file from Postgres contains everything that is needed. The default database, the default password and the default user, and an entry script. An entry script that will be populated at the moment it's executed. Yes, we have the integration test, we have the container, and at the moment the container is created and it's started. They run the test and they can do their specific test for them, like creating a metric receiver, creating polling for this, in this case, data points, and at the end check that there are no errors and everything is fine. At the end of the day, an integration test is just provision your dependencies and do your assertions. This is for Opentelemetry-collector, but it could be, well, if we go to another one like Oracle DB receiver, it would be basically the same, creating a Oracle database as a container and then running the assertions.
Right. No, nice. This showed like a bunch of features, like building from a Docker file as well. Would you recommend? Can you show if there is a good place there? Because there are three essential things that test containers libraries offer. One is the lifecycle management. So creating the containers, integrating with the Docker daemon, sending the commands, and managing the lifecycle, cleaning up the images, all the rest. The second is configuring the services, the containers, and the services within the container, right? So exposing the correct ports, copying the files if needed. And the third one, integrating back with the integration tests or with your application to give you the API to figure out where your service is running, what are the ports that are exposed and mapped. Currently, I think this is all defined in the container request, right?
Yes. Yes.
On which port this thing has been running.
Yes, we have a container request struct. This is an idiom in Go. Container request. Well, here in the container interface, we can see all the methods that are exposed to a container, all the things that you can do whenever you create containers. You can check the host of the running container, which port is used, and this is an important thing that Testcontainers offers out of the box, is creating randomized ports for you. You don't have to expose. It's a bad practice to use a fixed port, because when you are running parallel tests, for example, you can find conflicts when you start two services listening in the same port. So a best practice in test containers in general, in particular for Go, is just letting the library choose a random port for you, and with this mapped port, or even with the endpoint method, you can discover in which port your container is listening. So here we can see all the methods. As I said, you can execute commands in the running container. You can copy files or copy directories to a container before it is created, because you want to prepare, for example, init SQL file or even file system that you have to prepare before your test run, etc. And from the Docker file, exactly the same. You can tell, hey, this is my Docker file, this is the build context, this is the build args, just build the image
Nice.
for me. And
Nice.
regarding, sorry.
Yeah. I had just looking at this, I had a question from my Testcontainers Java background. I know that Testcontainers Java uses the Docker Java project, like a separate project that is used to call the Docker daemon, the APIs of Docker daemon, so it can work with any compatible Docker environment.
Yes.
How is that resolved in Testcontainers Go?
Yes, this is one of the main difference between the other libraries, and I think one of the things or the benefits of using Go is that we consume directly the Go binary. So at the moment the Docker folks distribute a new version of Docker, we are able to consume it, and all the Docker types and all the Docker lifecycle, we can consume it directly. We don't have to call, well, internally it calls the API, of course, but we don't have this intermediate layer like Docker Java or Docker.NET, for example. We deal directly with the Docker library, which is expected or well tested, and we expect that it works. So it's something that we don't have to maintain, which is directly consume the Docker binary.
Yes. That sounds like a great life hack. I mean, yeah, that there is no, that is the reference implementation. So that should
Yes,
work
yes.
for all the use cases that you will. This is really, really good. We looked at the example of Opentelemetry-collector-contrib for the tests, and you showed how they. Oh, we have a question actually from Ricardo. Let's see. Is there any primitives in TC to handle race conditions? Like say I spin up a container and write some data off in the backend. I want to read the data next, but eventual consistency comes to haunt me. I know that this would be a language-specific implementation, I think. So in Java, you would use the libraries that allow us to await on the asynchronous conditions. What would be your sort of
well,
gut feeling for Go?
Yes, probably leveraging the concurrent patterns and packages from Go, like using channels or Go routines to create the data, wait for it, and which is already built in the language. I don't know the specific use case, Ricardo, so probably we can share a gist or a repository so we can play around with it. But probably if you have a race condition in a test regarding the access of a container, we need to probably go deeper into it with the code, which could be probably understanding how the data is created into the container, when the data is read from the container. We would like to, or I offer myself to help you out if we have a repo or something to check. But probably is that identifying when the data is read in the test, and I would say that.
Yeah. So what I hear is that there are no primitives in the Testcontainers Go implementation, and
no, exactly.
You just need to use. I know I've seen one of the things that you showed when you're starting the container. You can specify the waiting strategy that will sort of work as a semaphore and it will wait for the container to reach a certain state that you can identify by ports being open or URLs being accessible or certain log lines written in the output of the Docker container. But there is nothing generic like that for any sort of random awaits.
Yes, I'm going through the docs. I'm going to make this open. Well, I said that there is no primitives for a specific part of the data, but there are primitives for the, as you said, for the startup of a container. So we are able to wait for different things. We can wait for a command that executes and returns with a specific results. We can wait for a container to exit because, for example, we have a container that starts something else and dies. We can wait for that condition. We can wait for a container to be healthy, to a host port that is there, an HTTP port that is available, We can wait for a log in the main process of the container. We can wait for an SQL, which is something very, very handy when you are working with databases. Check that select one is there, or select max whatever is there. And something that is really interesting is the multi-strategy, that you can define multiple wait strategies, and it will wait for and this comes with a really good example of this healthy community, because the multi strategy was contributed by a good contributor.
Nice.
Yes, because I'm really proud of this contribution, because he came with a design with all this detailed document. So this represents for me a healthy community where we have contributors like this one that provide such information and actually send a pull request with them, with all this implemented. And this is great. For example, we are able to create a deadline in the parent and the parent wait strategy, the multi one, so we can detect if the parent strategy needs to finish and kill all the child strategies. It's something that it was not possible in the past, and probably in the upcoming versions will be released. And this is fantastic from the community standpoint, apart from the technical one.
Yes. So everyone who is trying to contribute to more open source projects, this is the standard that Manu is keeping you to. In all seriousness, this looks like a great contribution with all the motivation and the details described and coming with a pull request together. Well done, the author of the contribution. I didn't catch the name.
Henry. Name is
Henry. Very good. Kudos, Henry, for a very healthy contribution. And I love seeing that Testcontainers Go has an active and very responsible community. So that brings me, so this now wait strategies here and everything brings me to the next question that I had, which I like how it flows very nicely. So, and it also comes like, excuse my Java background. Oh, Henry is here in the chat. Henry with the black heart emoji. Well done. Congratulations. And thank you very much for your contribution. This was quite excellent. Nice. Oh, this makes me so happy. Right. So what I was trying to ask, right? So the wait strategies specifically, right? They are very custom per Docker image specific pieces of code that you need to implement to reasonably and correctly use the containers. If I want to create an Oracle container with an Oracle database, I need to use a certain Oracle image, Docker image, and I need to configure it in a precise way, like expose the ports and everything. But those are maybe small things. But I also need to wait for the database to start and be ready. And this is a little bit more involved, because it's not something that I can read from the docs very easily, saying like, oh, Oracle runs on port XYZ. But this is something that I need to either learn from experience or kind of like have a suggestion, a hint somewhere. In the Java ecosystem, this is resolved with modules, right? So the abstractions that are encapsulating a certain usage of test containers for a certain technology, which I can drop into my project as a library and then use it as a single sort of invocation, like give me a Kafka container. How does it work with test containers for Go? Other modules, what are the recommended approaches for technologies and stuff like that?
Yes, I'm gonna be fair here. We don't have modules at this moment, but it's in our plans. So in the past, there are a lot of discussions in the community. Why Testcontainers Go doesn't have modules? And it was because Go modules were not recently, but at the moment these issues were created, were still a thing. So we didn't create the modules because the language was not providing enough support or support enough for creating them. But nowadays it's possible. We are experimenting with them with examples at this moment. Examples here is something, and is something that I would like to showcase here, because this is really recent in the library. We created this example section that in the past it contained just a few examples, very, very simple, but the team is contributing more and more. For example, Edu contributed very past week Google Cloud examples like Firestore, Datastore, Spanner, and PubSub, also the Toxiproxy one. So this is the place if you plan to or you have a module that a service that you are very, very proud of in your code base and you would like to share with the community. I think this is the place. Getting them into the examples page and send a pull request with them. How this is implemented in the code? Well, basically, we have a real Go module for this example. This is not exported at this moment. We want to experiment and receive feedback from the community if these examples are the way to go. And with them, for example, I will check the Redis one, which is a very simple one. We create a struct representing the Redis container. We set up Redis and return a container. This container contains the URL connection, and in a test, we check that this test is here, and we with the Redis client. Probably I will make this bigger.
Yes, thank you.
With the Redis client, we check that we are able to send data and get data from Redis, and it's there. And this is a real module. If we go to the examples directory, here we can see that we have different modules. For example, Redis, it's a module, example Redis. And here we have an implementation of the container here and the test, and we are able to run them. So if you have this service that you are proud of, send a pull request to this directory. It could be more or less simple, but we want to make it very, very straightforward. We created this tool, which is generating all the scaffolding for you. So it bootstrapping the example for you, creating the test file, the module, a way to run the test. It also creates the markdown file for the website, so it will be automatically integrated here at the moment you run the test. It will also create a GitHub workflow for your examples to run the test automatically with every pull request or with every merge commit. So it's very, very integrated into the development lifecycle of the project. So at the moment your example is contributed, it will be just a first citizen in the project. It's something that I would like to showcase. Probably, I don't know if we have enough time, but I have everything here prepared to contribute a Postgres example, which is not here in the documentation. I think it could take 5-10 minutes. We can do some live coding if you like.
Yeah, I'm in.
Coding always explodes in production.
I'm in. I will be mostly watching, but if you can show how it works, this would be great.
Yes, yes. Okay, I'm in the main branch of the project. Do you see? Yes, I see. Let me make this bigger. So, okay, here are the examples directory. Here we have the readme is the one you saw in the checkout and the Postgres example. Okay, we have in a new branch. We have this in the examples directory. There is a generator that receives the name of the service and the image that you want to use. In this case, Postgres 11. And when we run this Okay, it says that, hey, the files are being created. Go to the module here, Postgres. Let's go to the differences. Here we have the integration with the website. So automatically will be in the part of the website. Also integrated with the Dependabot. So your module will see the dependencies from the Dependabot. Workflow, a GitHub workflow, running the test, checking, well, all the stuff, verifying the dependencies. Also the page with Postgres, in this case, which is the website showing the snippets for that you can just copy and paste in your project for Postgres, the module file for Postgres, well, a small build tool, build script for building it, and finally, a simple test that start Postgres and check that there are no errors.
Right.
And Postgres, which is configuring the Postgres with a container request, which is the abstraction we already show. There are more items that we can configure here, but with just defining the image, it's fine. So I'm gonna commit.
Wait, let's make it interesting.
Postgres
Right.
SQL.
So,
sorry.
Well, I mean, like you can commit. A commit doesn't mean anything, right? It's just the scaffolding.
Yes, I'm committing it because I want to show the diffs. Because
right,
now
okay.
I'm going to explain a more elaborated example just to verify. I'm going to run this test just in case I'm not doing black magic here. And so this test, which is basically, then let me watch Docker and see what's going on. I'm going to run the test. Oh, I need to go to mode tidy, cd Postgres, go mode tidy to update the dependencies. Here, change, well, basically I will commit them later. Watch, and I'm gonna run the test. Here, Postgres, run the test. Oh gosh, let me find it. I'm gonna run the test, and I go to the terminal. I will see Ryuk starting at some point.
Right.
Yes, Ryuk is, well, for newcomer, Ryuk is the garbage collector, which is destroying the resources that Testcontainers creates, containers, images, and networks, for example, and in the output, it passed. So it checked that there are no errors, and well, it's here. Let me do one thing, which is making this example more elaborated.
Wait, why are you resetting it?
Yes, because the Go mod files was already modified in the stash.
Yeah.
So no worries. Here, we don't need this because it's in the. Okay, perfect. And this test, if we go to the differences, is doing this. Basically, is configuring the container with a database, a user, and a password. And at the end, it gets in which port is automatically listening this container, create a connection string, and uses the native. We can do it in another way, but this is the simplest one. Create an open a connection to the Postgres database, create a table, and insert an element in that table and check that there are no errors and the result is not nil. So I'm gonna step here. And regarding the Postgres, it uses a functional approach to configure the container request. Here we're defining empty exposed port and env. So depending how do you want to initialize the container here, we can set functions that returns what you want to apply. For example, with port, it will update the exposed port append in the port. With wait strategies, will append all the strategies. And when you say with initial database, it will set the environment variables for the container. If we go to the usage, here we can see here this. This is what is changing here. No, here the changes are there. We are creating the container with a port, which is the traditional 5432 port from Postgres, the credentials and the database, and we are waiting for a log. And we will take 5 seconds before the container is started. And
nice. What is very, very interesting, the Java Postgres container waits for that line to appear twice. But I don't know why. It could be.
We can do it. We can do it.
We don't have to. If this worked for you before during your preparation, I don't know if it is actually is going to appear twice. But I think it's fine.
If you go to the wait, you are able the log. You are able to say the number of occurrences. So we could say with occurrences 2, just in case, just to be more compliant with Java.
No, there is. It's just okay. There is no compliance for people watching. There is no compliance, nothing like that. Nobody is twisting hands.
No. This is a really good question because it's something that our team is trying to do, alignment between languages. So it's something that is part of our concerns as an open source team is to create a smooth experience working in the different versions of the library. You switch from Java to Go, from Go to .NET, .NET to Python. You have more or less the same abstractions and the same expectations.
Right. Yes, and it makes a lot of sense because you would like all your teams within the company, all your peers, to work with the similar expectations and the similar user experience. And Edu there in the chat confirms that it is twice indeed for empty databases, and it shows once for the databases with data, which I'm not sure we need it twice. Then if it's, I don't know. I think I confused myself. But we can run the test. If it works, it works.
Well, at the end, because this is part of the setup of the consumer of the library, it's a responsibility of the users. Like, hey, I know that my database is empty. I will check it twice. Or at the moment this eventually is promoted to a supported module, we expect that the community decide which is the best way to provision Postgres, probably having a Postgres expert involved or the Postgres community involved. That would be awesome. As an open source maintainer, that would be awesome if we have this feedback from other open source communities.
Right. Yeah, that would be incredible indeed, because there are so many technologies that you can test against with test containers, or in this particular case, test containers for Go. And then it's infeasible for the small team of the maintainers, literally you. And the community to know and be very well versed in all the details for all the various technologies. This is Postgres, this is database. It's a fairly simple setup. But if you start talking about more complicated technologies like running Kafka, you need to understand what you want to do with the zookeeper, and then whether you want the zookeeper at all, or whether the zookeeper has disappeared in the newer versions of Kafka. How to build the networks. It's got to be like a fairly elaborate example, and it will require a little bit more brain cycles from the end user, from the application developer. So if somebody can contribute and lend their hands and brains in making those examples and those modules as kind of streamlined for the end user as possible, it's not about the maintainers team being under the pressure, right? But it's more about the application developer. Very often they are as slammed with deadlines and complexities of the projects as anyone else. And if we can make their lives a little bit easier and not make them think about, oh, how should I run Kafka in a Docker container, then that would be a big win. And I think this could be one of the noble missions of a project like this.
I couldn't
Right.
have said with best words, so thank you for putting the highlight there.
Right, absolutely. Right. So, and this is the module, and then you just commit push. It appears on the website.
Yes, well, I can debug the tests and check if it runs. Oh yes,
Do we need to debug it? Did it fail at first?
Well, just to make sure that we have no errors here. For example, it will check this.
Okay.
It's also part of the experience of working with open source, trying to debug, or in general with applications, being able to debug. And if we are able to explore what are the container, what the internals of the structure that we are modifying. Here we have the request, sorry, the SQL execution, open database, we execute, there are no errors, so we are able to create a database, we are able to insert into
the table.
In the table, exactly, and we are done. If we are able to, we could go to the database and create a SQL query and do it and create a different assertion, but well, this is done. And here, if we watch, is here will have been killing the Postgres instance and will kill it itself at this moment. So now we have this Postgres module, which is more text. And if I want to submit a pull request, it will be just a matter of 1 second to submit the example, and will appear there. And if we submit a pull request, I will be super fast. Postgres example, pull request template, Postgres example, keep community happy.
No, this is great. This is great.
I will submit it, and you will see that the workflow is there. The Netlify will render the website. If we go here with the pull request, we will see all the modified things, the modifications for the Postgres. If we go to the GitHub checks,
Nice.
we will see that Netlify will render in the preview of the website. We will see all the examples running here. Postgres, here is my friend. So
very good.
Automatically your example is integrated in the entire project. Here we have the website. We go to the deployment. We can see Postgres here with your example completely live.
Nice. This is quite incredible, right? With the scaffolding created for you and with the ability of run the tests and show it, I think if anyone in the community has the knowledge about particular technologies, or if they're using test containers for Go with particular technologies, please consider contributing the examples. It really doesn't take that much time, and then it allows us and the community in general, it allows on like narrowing down on the particular use cases for the particular technologies. And plus, it will always run those technologies during the tests, which means that there is the higher chance of not breaking the particular integrations that you have with the next releases. So I think this is beautiful, beautiful, and very timely. I don't actually have any more questions myself. I think this was great. We looked at a couple of things. We looked at the repository. We looked at the examples from the Opentelemetry-collector-contrib modules. We looked at the modules and examples how to run the particular technologies. I think it was a successful episode.
Yes, I enjoyed the interview a lot.
Yes, thank you very much. If we have questions, if anyone who's watching have any questions currently, then please write them in chat. We have 30 more seconds or something like this before we'll start wrapping up. And yeah, in general, I want to thank you for finding time during this December, like as a fun trivia for people while we were scheduling this. Manu was like, "Can we please do it on Wednesday?" So there is no World Cup games happening during the time of the video.
Also, not baby deliveries.
Yes. I once again congratulations on the upcoming family changes, and thank you for finding time to join us today. Even though it was a little bit stressful with the timings and everything. Right.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much, Ricardo, for your warm feedback. Thank you for joining. And this is it for today. Thank you very much, Manu. It was great to chat with you. And I see everyone else on the next episode.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.